Hello guys, today's prompt, day 17 in Ethony's 31 Days of Tarot Challenge, is to draw, paint or sketch my favorite tarot card, and I will not do that because I'm not an artist and I cannot draw, and there's no way that I could make anything remotely looking like any of the tarot cards. But I do have Adrian Trafford's Tarot Design Coloring book, and I think in one of my previous videos I mentioned her oracle deck, which is the Journey Oracle, which I use very often. And I got her Tarot Design Coloring book. She has done a couple of tarot cards, but as far as I know she doesn't have a complete deck. I would love to have a complete deck by her because I really like the artwork, the art style that she uses. And I'm going to color one of these pages, and what I'm going to use is these 24 colors of double tip felt tip pens. This has one larger and one fine tip, and this is what I thought I will use to color. I've done a couple of pages, and today what I would like to color is the Hermit. And the Hermit is my birth card. To me the Hermit card is about leaving the world for a little while and just going to be with ourselves, to look into ourselves, to face ourselves, what's inside of us, and especially in regard of what we believe and what we understand about the world. The Hermit card seems to me as the student of the High Priestess and the Hierophant. The High Priestess is the intuition, and she teaches the Hermit such things that are hidden, that are inner knowledge, that are related to intuition, that are related to the unexplainable. The Hierophant is the teacher who teaches about traditional values and ideas which have been handed down through generations and generations, and this kind of knowledge has the added layers of the person's understanding who passed on this knowledge. So it is always through a filter of previous human experiences. And the Hermit takes the intuition from the High Priestess and takes the knowledge that he was taught by the Hierophant, combines the two together and creates its own worldview, finds the answers to what he believes about the world, how the world operates, and what is the meaning of life. And for that he needs to have solitude, to be able to focus on these teachings and on these insights, and to build up his own view of the world and of the universe and how things work and what is the meaning of life. So the Hermit represents on one hand self-reflection, on the other hand solitude. And my birth card is the Hermit, and this is represented in many ways in my life. There have been periods of significant solitude where I was kind of in a hangman situation, that I could not do anything but do self-reflection. I was kind of forced to focus on self-reflection and self-discovery and spend time with understanding why things are the way they are, and to find my own truth. I really like the depiction of Hermit in the traditional decks such as the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, standing on the top of a mountain and just looking down, but in many depictions his eyes are closed. He is certainly looking down over the world. he is looking at the world from a vantage point which also gives him a perspective. So, being in a state of hermit, we can look at things from a little bit removed position. We can look at things while being a little bit detached. I love that he has a lamp because that represents a guiding light. So there's always some guidance when we are doing our self-reflection and self-evaluation and self-discovery. There is always something there to lead us on our path, on our journey. So we don't need to be afraid. We are not in the dark. We are not surrounded by darkness, because our light is always there to lead us along and to show us the way and to provide comfort. So that is an aspect which I really like, and his whole stance and demeanor and everything about him I'm looking at the Rider-Waite-Smith image, is about leaving the expectations of the world behind. He is wearing robes. He is not dressed like people of the world. He is showing that at this point in time, the external values are not the primary focus. The internal values are the primary focus. I also associate the Hermit card with studies. When you actually study something because you are driven to, or you have a special interest in that subject, it's not something that you have to study because it is part of a curriculum, but that you choose to deepen your knowledge, to go into the details, into the minutiae of something, of a topic, of a subject. And I especially like the depiction of the Victorian fairy tarot, where the hermit is shown as a fae inside of a tree, doing some studies. He's reading a book, he has his study there, and he has many books behind him, he has a globe. So this is again a representation closer to the meaning or sense of involvement, getting deep into some studies. Sometimes the hermit, from the solitude aspect, can be challenging. Sometimes that solitude can feel wonderful and refreshing and recharging, but sometimes solitude is being cut away from people. Not many people would be willing to come up with us to those heights in the mountains where the hermit is going. So this solitude is sometimes challenging. I have seen a documentary about modern hermits who live in the desert in Africa, and for months on end they don't see a human being. They just pray and pray and pray, and how challenging that is, and how clear and sure of yourself you must be to be able to do that, to remain alone, and to be able to remove yourself from the world, from anything the world has to offer, and especially companionship. So the Hermit card is a very interesting card. I really like the Hermit card. I like the wisdom that the Hermit card represents, the wisdom that is ours, that cannot be changed by someone else telling us to change our beliefs. Wisdom is much more than knowledge. The Hierophant gives us knowledge, but the Hermit turns knowledge into wisdom. And I really like this aspect. So these were my thoughts on the Hermit card, and this was a very interesting exercise. Thank you very much for watching the video, and see you next time. Bye bye.